Hello, true duelists. My name's Craig Fee, and as always, welcome to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Update. It's Friday, and you know what that means. We're officially 1 week into what the internet is calling the 92nd consecutive worst format ever in this game's history, at least according to the various endless complaints you'll find on social media. More impressive than this game's perpetual death is the endless complaints that it was never actually good in the first place. Truly, what is dead may never die. That's right, I referenced a show that's been over for like 5 years and stopped being good like 8 years ago. Fucking sick. Just a great sign of things shit in the bed. Like I'm about to do literally and figuratively. So with that out of the way, let's take a look at the North American World Championship qualifiers for 2024. Debuting alongside the Infinite Forbidden, Friday gave us a sneak peek of the format with the points qualifiers playoffs, a top 16 for some of the best players in North America according to how many points they got, wherein the top 2 players would receive invites to Worlds and a single elimination tournament. And let me tell you, you can really see the creativity that Konami was talking about when they announced that they would be giving us the ban list in late August. Because with 14 of the 16 decks playing a Fiendsmith engine and a cool 11 of them being Snake Eye, you can see that it's just artistic vision in abundance. But hey, we also had 2 Fiendsmith Yubel, a magical musketeer Fiendsmith, a Tenpai, and a Labyrinth. So that's clearly Info has brought magical muskets into the meta in some capacity, and clearly creativity is in full throttle. And if you want to know how all that creativity paid off, top 8 was almost entirely Fiendsmith. There was a lone Tenpai, and then the Yubel lists, the two of them, and then the rest was all Snake Eye. So it's just, I can't believe it. The best deck is still the best deck. And then if you get on the top 4, it's Snake Eye versus Yubel versus Snake Eye versus Yubel. So it was the 2 Snake Eyes versus the 2 Yubel lists, and what could win in this matchup? Well, you won't believe it, but it was the fucking best deck, Snake Eye. It's just Snake Eye. I'm just fucking talking about Snake Eye for the 90th week in a row. It just never fucking ends. This is my purgatory, okay? It's Snake Eye. Now, granted, there are serious congrats to our winners, because while I'm sick of talking about it broadly, that doesn't make the win any less impressive. And that play Jose did in the finals, where he chains IP to the opponent's triple tactic talents to make Promethean Princess, so then the Yubel player ends up stuck with Promethean Princess and they're fire locked. That was funny and cool. I appreciated that. But yeah, he's fucking Snake Eye. I know. Congrats to Jose and Ruben for winning and being the first 2 players to represent North America at Worlds in September, where they'll be in North America. So makes sense. And with that, we move on to the main event. Countless duelists in attendance, all lined up to show us how dead this game is. Also known as compete in the premier event of the region until Worlds happens in September. And I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty consistent throughout the entirety of the event. There were 12 rounds of Swiss at the event, and if you look at the Konami provided top tables data, you'll see that Fiendsmith Snake Eye makes up just shy of half the decks at the end of round 6 of the top tables, with about 47%, and then Tenpai's rock in second place in representation with 20%, Yubel's in behind with 10%, and then you got the stragglers from the previous format that you can kind of expect: Voiceless Voice, Branded, Melodious, and even the new toy Ritual Beast, because Shifter is still a card. And then if you jump ahead to the end of round 12 and look at the top tables, it's mostly the same. There's a little less Snake Eye being represented, a little more Tenpai, and a decent amount more Yubel, but beyond that, it's nothing really shocking. Sick to see Memento up there, because I have the entire deck except for the overpriced spell that searches. Love that, never gonna be sick of that. Why didn't I buy that? I'm an idiot. Cool. Anyways, there's also Gimmick Puppet, which is an FTK, and you probably heard about it because it ruined Team Samurai's experience on feature match. I believe it was in round 9, and it was, if nothing else, pretty comedic to watch and see a man develop a burning hatred for a deck. I can empathize with that tremendously, and I respect it tremendously, so that's cool. And then you move on to the top 64, and you're not going to believe that. You're actually going to be shocked, awed, and wowed at this, and it is the fact that, yep, it's still a whole lot of the same. Mostly Snake Eye, some Tenpai, Yubel in the 3rd place, and then a smattering of things like Runic and Memento and Gimmick Puppet, and then of course your gambling addicts that never die and call themselves tier limit players, which did get 1 top in 64, I believe it was. Remarkably similar to the top tables before it, in all honesty. It's kind of impressive how consistent that was. It is worth noting, though, that when you take a look at the decks that played the Fiendsmith engine, that was 40 out of 64, which is a cool 62.5% if I'm not mistaken, which means that it is not tier 0 and no one's allowed to complain. That's how the game works, baby. It's creativity. We're here for it. And honestly, from here, you can follow it up with the same sorts of trends. Top 32 and in top 16, where the pie charts don't really change a whole lot because it's the same fucking format, just with a Fiendsmith engine now, and a little card that gets a little chummy, unless you're playing it in the TCG, which everyone in this event fucking was because it was a TCG event, in which case he got a little charmy. Do you get it? Do you understand the joke? I don't. Anyways, top 8, look at that. 5 Snake Eye, 2 Yugioh, and a 10 pie. 7 Fiendsmith, top 8. Fucking sick, dude. There were the unofficial finals of the event, as the top 4 players would all be moving on regardless of who ended up winning. So top 8 kind of serves as your finals for the most meaningful of impacts. All Fiendsmith, 1 Yugioh, and 3 Snake Eye. Congrats to the 4 qualifiers, that is Marshall, Landon, Michael, and Aditya, because I'm not gonna, if I'm gonna butcher one, I have to butcher all the last names or just not say any of it. That's how this fucking works, okay? Michael, of course, being Trishula TTV, who, if you weren't aware, I believe got 3rd in the Master Duel qualifiers in the last, weekend of shenanigans that Master Duel does for its qualifiers. So he missed out by just a tiny bit, but it's okay because he got into Worlds anyways. You'll fucking love to see it. And you know what else you love to see? Aditya's hands, because those shit fucking, I'm having a stroke even trying to comprehend how good those hands were. Bestials, Charmy, just everything he needed to be able to ruin the turn of his opponent and secure himself the win. So congrats to him for winning the entirety of the event and being your North American World Championship qualifier champion, or whatever the hell the title is. And an even bigger congratulations to everyone who managed to pick up their copies of Charmy for about $30 before they spiked after this event took place. My one decent financial decision. For as weak as it is, Max C's equivalent in the TCG, as it turns out, did well. It's definitely not an automatic game winner or turn stopper in every single matchup like the bug is for the most part, but against the likes of Yugioh, it can be pretty damn solid. And in the right scenario against Snake Eye, it's at least a +1. Oh, and as it turns out, drawing 2 cards is in fact a solid thing, and it can pretty reliably do it in this format, and as such, it's all play. Incredible. I know no one predicted this other than everyone who predicted it. Huge shoutouts to that one guy who said Perulia was a flop a few weeks ago when Fuaros was announced, because I just really want to shout out the genius of saying that this card was a flop before it was even fucking released. I love comments on the internet. Please give me more of them. And of course, we gotta really give a huge shout out to the one and only, the best thing to happen to the event, according to the Redditors, because besides all the Fiendsmith and the jellyfish that was going on, there was a notable deck by the name of Ancient Gears. Yeah, in round 7 on the feature match, Ancient Gears' strongest soldier rose to prominence by using cards no one else has read since Ancient Gear was everywhere on the Edo Pro ladder a few years ago, and he played against the format best deck Fiendsmith Snake Eye. And as it turns out, forcing the opponent to link summon an access code on your turn, just so they have a monster big enough to not be run the fuck over by Chaos Ancient Gear Giant, since Fortress won't let you interact with Ancient Gear cards on the turn they're special summon. It turns out that's not the best way to win the duel if you're not the person playing Ancient Gears. And it really didn't work out because Ancient Gear fucking 2-0'd Snake Eye Fiendsmith in a pretty goddamn entertaining duel, in all honesty. Kudos, of course, to the opponent as well, because it's easy to clown on someone for not winning when they're playing the best deck. But again, he seemed to be pretty cool with it. He was at least enjoying it, having a giggle, mate, or whatever it is people might say. So huge shout out to him, because picking up the Fusion Monster 3 separate times as you try to process it is both relatable and fucking funny. So yeah, some authentic shit right there. Again, this was the highlight of the event by far, beat out only by whoever it was that apparently paid $6,500 for that giant card of Substitute, because I'm jelly. Get it? Jellyfish? There's another more Charmy. I want to fucking die. Well, you know what? Fuck it. We're done with that. Shoutouts to the Edison event, which I didn't really cover, but it had like 500 people, so like you could make it its own standalone YCS at this point. Edison's pretty popular. Or Fiendsmith Snake Eye sucks to play. I don't know. You tell me. You tell me. And of course, Europeans get to experience it all for themselves this coming weekend, because the EU WCQ kicks off today for their 3D event. 3D event? Yeah, it's 3D. That's not fucking wrong. I meant to say 3-day, but it still isn't lying. No one's going to that shit in 2D, okay? So stay tuned for tomorrow and the weekend, where we get to learn what they learned from the North American deck lists, and of course, figure out if they can utilize that knowledge to finally beat plants. I guess we'll find out, because the allegations are, of course, out there for Europe, and we are all watching. So enjoy the stream, live the dream, and a third thing that rhymes with those words as we move on to the next story. And honestly, as I'm filming it, it's the only other story, so fucking get the most of it. In some new set news from the OCG, they have announced a sequel to Terminal World, or as the set we got in the TCG containing those new cards, a follow-up of sorts to the Battles of Legend Terminal Revenge. This will be the same as the first Terminal World set in regards to the fact that it will feature 4 dual terminal archetypes and give them some new cards to play with and presumably some fancy alt arts. As for what the archetypes will be, we only know 2 of them thus far, and they're Jurak and Fabled. Jurak has historically been best known for playing Guaiba in Dino Rabbit and Aolo as the tuner in dinosaur decks, and that's literally it. And Fable, of course, has received infamy for being Light Fiends, which is relevant to the meta right now, and it's also lived on as a joke about Konami representative Douglas Zeef, because Saga, or fuck it, because Douglas Zeef. That's what more need be said. So, will they get support to finally make Jurak more than generic dinosaur support, or to get Fabled to be something other than a Zeef joke? I guess we'll find out. We can, of course, speculate on what the other decks will be. Maybe Nekroz or Gem Knight. Can you imagine if they just did more Shadal support? That'd be really fun. I feel like a lot of people would hate that, but I wouldn't. So Konami, please cater to me in the minorest of ways. This won't be released until the November month that exists of 2024 in the OCG, so we won't be getting any of these cards until sometime in 2025. But what else is this game but eternal hype for future things that promise a different version of what we're dealing with now, which is maybe better, but will in fact simply become the 94th worst consecutive format to ever be conceived. And so that's all I've got for this week. Shoutouts, as always, go to the LIFD Magnetic Display, the best way to support my channel and the true duelist approved way to show off all your favorite cards. Promo code YGOSTRATS15 will get you 15% off one of these bad boys, or you can click the link in the description and have that discount apply automatically. It comes in the 3 set, it comes in the 1 set, and it's the best thing to do with your jellyfish. End sentence. Done. That's it. If you have a jellyfish, it'll fit. They're fucking wide. They can be compressed like that. And they can't complain because they don't have brains. Jellyfish are like that. I don't know where this went. I'm really confused. But that's all it. I'm done. Fucking see ya next week when we go over the EU WCQ. And maybe my cat won't crawl on a chair in the middle of my filming next time. We'll find out. It's all a mystery. We'll fucking get there after the week. Good God, there's a whole work week in between. I'm gonna fucking, oh, I need a raise. Anyway, see you next week, folks. I'm fucking done. And